Well, now let's go into kind of discussion of the roles, and specifically we're kind of moving and talking about GI rights movement. The first person I have on here is the service member themselves, and I think this is important because what the GI rights movement is about is empowering the service member to act themselves. What we can do is encourage them and empower them and help them to say, look, you know, here's some of the regs. You can look this up for yourself, and to help them. And a lot of times there's different people have different levels of abilities and whatnot. But I think as much as we can, empowering them to act is important. The second role, and that's kind of what we're training today for, is the role of an activist or an advocate. And this is someone who has at least some basic information, knowledge about the GI rights movement, that you know where to get some of the basic information, and you can help a soldier to navigate that system, to know where resources are available, and maybe even to help them know, should you work with a local attorney, should you just work with the GI rights hotline, should you contact IBAW, you know, that basically knowing what resources are there. And after today, I think every person here can really be in that role, and you're going to have what you need. The next role is that of a GI rights counselor, and that's what I'm hoping all of y'all are going to be down the road once we continue the training. A GI rights counselor is what you might call a paraprofessional counselor. And basically what that means is you can do almost anything a lawyer can do, except you can't go to court for a client, and legally you can't give them legal advice. And the concept of legal advice is one of those concepts that the law is very nebulous and confusing. So I'm not going to try to define it too tightly, except to say that discussing, basically, I would say the safest thing to do in a conversation with a soldier when you're in that role of a GI rights counselor is just say from the get-go, I'm not a lawyer, I'm just a counselor. So I'm going to give you some basic information, but you need to confirm this on your own, read it for yourself, or you need to talk to a lawyer. Just say that in every conversation. I think in large part that helps provide protection. You don't fall into the category of practicing law without a license. But basically, a GI rights counselor can do tremendous work. You can be a liaison with the soldier's command. You can help them file for CO status. You can help them file for hardship discharges. You can do a tremendous amount. And I can tell you right now, there are very, very few lawyers doing this kind of work. So that if there weren't the GI rights counselors, most soldiers would be screwed. So I also would say that next role of the attorneys themselves, most attorneys like myself, we work all hand in hand with counselors all the time. For a lot of reasons. One is that we don't have enough time to do the cases coming in, so we depend on the counselors to help us in large roles. But also, from a practical standpoint, for many soldiers, money is really tight. And so a lot of times if a soldier needs an attorney, but money is a serious issue, a limitation, then a lot of times a counselor can do a lot of the legwork for the attorney and reduce the bill with what the attorneys can end up charging. So the counselor, I cannot underestimate the role of the counselor here. It's huge. Now in attorneys, I can tell you that attorneys doing military law, they fall into, I'd say 3 categories. One is ex-JAG lawyers, well, 2 categories. The first category are high-dollar attorneys, most of them ex-JAG attorneys. They know their stuff. They've done it before when they were in the JAG system. The negative is that the going rate for those guys is about $200 to $300 an hour, which is out of reach for most soldiers. Again, if you got someone who has the money, they're great. I recommend them, at least some of them. Some of them I don't, but there's some that are really good. Second category, unfortunately, we got to get a lot more of them, are activist-oriented attorneys that are going to charge more reasonable rates. It's a pretty short list, but we're trying bad to recruit more people. One encouragement, though, is if you know an attorney who has political affinities with this, even if they don't do it all the time, if they even do one case a year, there's a lot of resources and training that I can hook them up with. So we really need that. But you're lucky you got Bill here in the community. I'm not too far away. We got some good resources, but we need more. And if the GI resistance movement becomes as big as I hope it will be someday, we're going to need a whole bunch of attorneys. So that's a huge need. The last category is others, and that really falls into lots of other people that are really critical. One is for many kinds of discharges, you're going to need medical documentation. If you can find friendly doctors, counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, they are critical. One thing I'd encourage you to start looking for them in your community. And I would say one thing that's helpful is if you can negotiate with them over reduced pricing for clients that need help from the military. I will tell you that many of these medical professionals will not take cases, particularly of soldiers that are AWOL. They're scared to death of dealing with the Army. Don't ask me why they are, and especially in Army towns, it's really difficult. However, for those who want to do this work, it's wonderful. If you can find someone in your area, that's tremendous. And we can discuss more down the road, the organization, with how to find those people, how to work with them, but it's a really critical need.